Adeobi was a vision of perfection, the kind of woman who turned heads wherever she went. Born and raised in Lagos, she had mastered the art of seduction and charm, navigating the bustling city's elite circles with ease. Her beauty was her currency, and she spent it wisely, capturing the hearts of men who were more than willing to shower her with the finest things in life. But Adeobi had a secret. Despite the luxurious life she lived, despite the men who adored her, there was a deep, gnawing emptiness inside her. No matter how much she received, be it love, money, or attention, nothing ever seemed to be enough. She was always left wanting more, always chasing an elusive feeling that slipped through her fingers like sand. It wasn't that Adeobi didn't appreciate the gifts and the attention. She loved the way men clamored for her affection, how they competed to outdo each other just for a glimpse of her smile. But after each fleeting romance, the void in her heart remained. She told herself that the next man, the next gift, the next experience would finally bring her the satisfaction she craved. And so, her journey began, an endless quest for something she couldn't quite name, a hunger that no man seemed able to satisfy. As the weeks turned into months, Adeobi's reputation in Lagos grew. She became the woman everyone talked about, the envy of women and the obsession of men. Her presence at high-profile events was expected, and men with influence and power flocked to her, eager to win her affection. Business tycoons, politicians, and celebrities vied for her attention, each trying to outshine the others with extravagant gifts and promises of a life she could only dream of. Adeobi, in turn, reveled in the attention. She had mastered the art of playing one man against the other, keeping her admirers on edge, never fully committing to any of them. Her web of lovers was intricate, with each man believing that he was special, that he was the one who could finally tame her restless spirit. But none of them could see the truth. Adeobi's hunger went far deeper than wealth or status. She entertained men like Chief Olamide, a powerful businessman with a mansion in Banana Island. He lavished her with expensive jewelry and whispered promises of a future where she would want for nothing. There was also Emeka, a successful oil magnate, who took her on trips around the world in his private jet, showing her the heights of luxury. And then there was Tunde, a young tech entrepreneur who was smitten with her beauty and intellect, believing his rising fortune could match her insatiable desires. Each man brought something different to the table, but none of them could satisfy the deep void within her. Adeobi knew it, yet she clung to the hope that one of them would be the answer she sought. She enjoyed the gifts, the glamour, and the adoration, but her heart remained empty. The more she indulged, the more restless she became. At night, in the solitude of her luxurious apartment, Adeobi would stare at her reflection in the mirror, wondering why she still felt incomplete. What was it that she truly wanted? Why did she always feel like something was missing? And so, her web of lovers grew, as did her frustration. Each new man, each new gift, each new experience brought her closer to the realization that no one man could satisfy her, perhaps no man ever would. Amidst her numerous lovers, a man unlike any other entered her life, Prince Uche. He was the heir to one of the most powerful royal families in Nigeria, and his wealth surpassed that of any man Adeobi had ever known. Uche's family lineage stretched back centuries, and his influence was vast. When he laid eyes on Adeobi at a gala, he became captivated by her beauty and grace. He knew instantly that he had to have her. Prince Uche was not a man who accepted rejection. He pursued Adeobi with a determination that was both flattering and overwhelming. Unlike the other men who threw themselves at her feet, Uche was calm, confident, and strategic. He didn't rush, he took his time, letting Adeobi come to him. And when she finally did, he swept her off her feet with a lifestyle that exceeded even her wildest dreams. Trips to Paris, shopping sprees in Milan, and exclusive dinners in private villas became the norm. Prince Uche's wealth was beyond comprehension, and Adeobi found herself in a whirlwind of luxury she had never experienced before. For a brief moment, she thought that perhaps Uche was the answer. Perhaps his royal blood, his endless wealth, and his composed demeanor could finally give her the satisfaction she had been searching for. But after a few months, the cracks began to show. Despite all the riches, despite the opulence of Uche's life, Adeobi still felt the familiar void inside her. His wealth, though dazzling, wasn't enough. The lavish gifts began to lose their appeal, and the excitement of being with a prince started to fade. Uche, though perfect on the surface, couldn't fill the emptiness that gnawed at her soul. It was then that Adeobi realized, no matter how powerful or wealthy a man was, he couldn't satisfy the yearning inside her. Prince Uche, like the others before him, was left in the wake of her dissatisfaction. And once again, Adeobi moved on, leaving behind another heartbroken admirer. Fresh off her whirlwind romance with Prince Uche, Adeobi set her sights on a new target, Kola, a rising politician with aspirations of becoming a senator. Kola was different from the men Adeobi had been with before. He wasn't just wealthy, he was ambitious, charismatic, and had a vision for the future. He saw Adeobi as more than just a beautiful woman, he saw her as a partner who could enhance his political career. Kola's charm was magnetic, and his promises of power and influence captivated Adeobi. He introduced her to the world of politics, where deals were made in private rooms and power was wielded behind closed doors. Adeobi found herself drawn to the idea of being the woman behind a future senator, the one who would stand by his side as he rose to prominence. At first, Adeobi was intoxicated by the thrill of Kola's world. She attended high-profile political events, met influential figures, and basked in the attention that came with being the woman of a powerful man. Kola, too, was deeply invested in her, showering her with love and admiration. He spoke of a future where they would rule the political landscape together, where she would be his queen. But as time went on, Adeobi began to grow restless once again. Kola's life, while exciting on the surface, became predictable. The endless political meetings, the carefully crafted public appearances, and the constant need to maintain a pristine image wore on her. The thrill she had initially felt began to fade, and she realized that even Kola's power wasn't enough to satisfy her. Despite Kola's efforts to keep her close, Adeobi knew that she couldn't stay. She craved something more, something deeper, and she knew that Kola, like the others before him, couldn't give it to her. And so, she left him, adding another name to the growing list of men who couldn't fill the void in her heart. Desperation began to creep into Adeobi's mind as she found herself unable to find the satisfaction she craved. No man seemed to be enough, and the emptiness inside her only grew with each passing day. It was during one of her low moments that her friend, Ifema, suggested something unusual, a visit to a spiritualist. At first, Adeobi scoffed at the idea. She had never believed in such things, dismissing spiritual matters as superstition. But as the days wore on, and her dissatisfaction deepened, she found herself more open to the idea. Perhaps there was something more going on, something beyond her control. Perhaps there was a reason why no man could satisfy her. Ifema took her to a small, dimly lit shop in the heart of Lagos. The spiritualist, an elderly woman with piercing eyes, welcomed them with a knowing smile. As Adeobi sat across from her, the spiritualist gazed into her eyes and said, "You carry a curse, my child. A curse that was placed upon you by a jealous rival long ago. Until you break it, no man will ever be enough for you." Adeobi was taken aback. A curse? She had never considered the possibility that her insatiable desires were tied to something supernatural. The spiritualist explained that the curse was designed to make her feel eternally unfulfilled, no matter how much love or wealth she received. It was meant to keep her in a state of constant longing. The revelation shook Adeobi to her core. Could this really be the reason for her restless heart? The spiritualist warned her that breaking the curse would not be easy. It would require a sacrifice, something precious, and a willingness to confront the pain of her past. Adeobi left the spiritualist's shop with a heavy heart, torn between disbelief and the possibility that her life had been shaped by forces beyond her control. The question lingered in her mind, could she break the curse, or was she doomed to continue her endless quest for satisfaction? Despite the spiritualist's ominous warning, Adeobi couldn't resist the lure of her lifestyle. The idea of a curse seemed far-fetched, and instead of seeking answers, she found herself entangled with a new man, Lanra. Lanra wasn't like the others. He was a mysterious businessman with a dark reputation. Rumors swirled about his shady deals and connections to the underworld, but that only made him more intriguing to Adeobi. From the moment they met, the chemistry between them was electric. Lanra's dangerous aura excited Adeobi in a way no other man had before. He didn't just offer her wealth, he offered her thrills, adrenaline-fueled nights in hidden locations, extravagant parties in secret circles, and a life on the edge of danger. For the first time in a long while, Adeobi felt alive. But the excitement came with a cost. As their relationship deepened, Adeobi found herself pulled into Lanra's world of deceit, crime, and corruption. She began to overlook the dark corners of his life, convincing herself that the risks were worth it. Lanra was different. He wasn't the typical rich man looking to spoil her with luxury. He gave her the excitement she craved. However, it didn't take long for things to spiral out of control. Lanra's shady business dealings began to catch up with him, and Adeobi found herself in dangerous situations that she had never imagined. What started as thrilling soon became terrifying, and she realized that even the excitement Lanra provided wasn't enough to fill the void inside her. The danger, the secrecy, the intensity, none of it was the answer she had been searching for. Adeobi knew she had to leave before she got in too deep, but by the time she made the decision, it was too late. Lanra wasn't a man who let go easily, and she soon found herself trapped in a world she couldn't escape from. As her life with Lanra became increasingly unbearable, Adeobi sought refuge in the familiar. Out of the blue, she received a message from Chidi, her first love from years ago. Chidi had always been the kind of man who offered stability and warmth, but back then, Adeobi had been too caught up in chasing wealth and excitement to appreciate him. Chidi had since become a successful engineer living abroad. He had returned to Nigeria for a project and was eager to reconnect with Adeobi. The timing couldn't have been better. Adeobi, desperate to escape the chaos of her life with Lanra, welcomed the opportunity to reunite with someone who knew her before she became the woman she was now. Chidi's presence was like a balm to her wounded soul. He was gentle, patient, and offered her the kind of love she hadn't experienced in years. He spoke of settling down, of starting a family, and of building a peaceful life together. Adeobi found comfort in his words, but deep down, she knew that something was still missing. Though Chidi's stability was refreshing, Adeobi soon realized that the same restlessness she had felt before still lingered. Chidi couldn't offer the excitement or thrill she had grown accustomed to. While she appreciated his love and stability, she found herself yearning for the danger and passion that had defined her relationships with men like Lanra. No matter how much Chidi tried to remind her of simpler times, Adeobi couldn't escape the gnawing feeling that there was something more out there, something he couldn't provide. And so, once again, she found herself torn between two worlds, the safe, loving life Chidi offered, and the dark, intoxicating thrill of the unknown. With Chidi's return offering a fleeting sense of stability, Adeobi quickly realized that no matter how peaceful her life became, her internal struggle would always lead her back to chaos. She tried to settle into a calmer life, but it wasn't long before she found herself craving the rush of excitement and danger. Adeobi began to frequent underground clubs, where the lines between pleasure and peril blurred. She indulged in reckless behavior, seeking out the thrill of danger wherever she could find it. The clubs were filled with men who lived on the edge, gamblers, smugglers, and thrill-seekers like herself. Adeobi was drawn to them like a moth to a flame, each encounter only deepening her addiction to the rush. Her friends and family became increasingly concerned. They had noticed the drastic changes in her, but Adeobi brushed off their concerns, convinced that she was in control. She told herself that she could stop anytime she wanted, but deep down, she knew that she was spiraling out of control. Adeobi's nights became longer and darker, filled with dangerous liaisons and reckless decisions. She lived for the adrenaline, the momentary distraction from the emptiness inside her. But no matter how hard she tried to fill the void, it only grew larger. The curse, it seemed, was tightening its grip on her. As Adeobi's life continued to spiral, she found herself thinking more and more about the spiritualist's warning. The idea of the curse no longer seemed so far-fetched. Everywhere she looked, she saw the consequences of her insatiable desires, failed relationships, broken hearts, and now, the dangerous path she was on. In desperation, she returned to the spiritualist. The old woman welcomed her back with a knowing look, as if she had been expecting her all along. Adeobi explained everything that had happened since their last meeting, the men, the danger, the void that still gnawed at her despite everything she had experienced. The spiritualist listened patiently before repeating her earlier warning. "The curse will destroy you and everyone you touch," she said. "If you do not break it, your life will end in ruin. But breaking it will not be easy. You must sacrifice something precious." Adeobi was shaken. She had seen the destruction her life had caused, not just to herself but to the men who had come into her orbit. But the idea of sacrifice terrified her. What would she have to give up to free herself from this curse? Would it be her lifestyle? Her freedom? Or something even more valuable? The spiritualist left her with a choice: continue down the path of destruction or face the difficult task of confronting the curse head-on. Adeobi left the shop more confused than ever, unsure of what to do. Just as Adeobi was wrestling with the spiritualist's warning, she met someone new, Femi. Femi was unlike any of the men Adeobi had been with before. He was quiet, introspective, and deeply spiritual. There was a calmness about him that immediately drew Adeobi in. He wasn't flashy or wealthy like the men she usually attracted, but his quiet confidence intrigued her. Femi treated Adeobi with a gentleness she hadn't experienced in years. He didn't try to dazzle her with gifts or grand gestures. Instead, he offered her his time, his presence, and a deep, genuine affection. For the first time in a long while, Adeobi felt something different, something more than just excitement or desire. As their relationship deepened, Adeobi found herself opening up to Femi in ways she hadn't with anyone else. He was patient, always willing to listen, and seemed to understand the restlessness in her soul. He didn't try to change her or fix her. Instead, he accepted her as she was, flaws and all. Adeobi began to wonder if Femi might be the one. Could he finally be the man who could satisfy her, not with wealth or excitement, but with something deeper? But as their relationship grew, Adeobi couldn't shake the feeling that the curse was still lurking in the background, waiting to rear its head. As Adeobi's relationship with Femi deepened, she felt something different within herself, a calmness she hadn't known before. Femi's love was simple and unassuming, but it grounded her in a way that wealth and power never could. For the first time, Adeobi started to think that maybe she could break the cycle of dissatisfaction, and Femi could be the man to help her find peace. However, just as Adeobi began to open her heart to the possibility of true contentment, the curse reared its ugly head once more. She began to feel a familiar restlessness, a gnawing sensation that something was still missing. It was subtle at first, an inexplicable urge to seek out excitement, to return to the life of glamour and indulgence she had once thrived in. Adeobi tried to push the feelings away, but the more she fought them, the stronger they became. She found herself reminiscing about the thrill of her previous relationships, the rush of power and control she felt when men showered her with gifts and adoration. The simplicity of her life with Femi, though comforting, began to feel stifling. The doubt crept into Adeobi's mind. Was Femi really the answer she had been searching for, or was she simply fooling herself? Could she ever truly be satisfied, or was the curse too powerful to overcome? Just as Adeobi was questioning her relationship with Femi, an old acquaintance re-entered her life, Alhaji Musa, a wealthy businessman who had once been one of her admirers. Alhaji Musa had always been captivated by Adeobi, but she had never taken him seriously, dismissing him as too old-fashioned for her tastes. But now, Alhaji Musa was back, and this time, he came with an offer that was impossible to ignore. He had recently acquired a massive property in one of Lagos' most exclusive neighborhoods, and he wanted Adeobi to be by his side. He promised her a life of unimaginable luxury, private jets, exotic vacations, and a place at the top of Lagos' social ladder. He wanted to marry her, to make her his queen. Adeobi was tempted. The promise of wealth and power reignited a spark within her that she hadn't felt in a long time. Femi's simple, quiet life suddenly seemed dull in comparison. With Alhaji Musa, she could have everything she had once desired: fame, fortune, and influence. The decision weighed heavily on Adeobi's mind. She cared deeply for Femi, but could she walk away from the life she had always dreamed of? Could she resist the temptation of wealth and power? As Adeobi wrestled with her decision, the curse seemed to tighten its grip on her. The restlessness that had been simmering beneath the surface now bubbled over, leaving her feeling more conflicted than ever. She began pulling away from Femi, avoiding his calls and making excuses to spend time away from him. Femi, sensing the change in her, confronted her one evening. He asked her what was wrong, why she seemed so distant, and whether there was someone else. Adeobi, torn between her love for Femi and her longing for the life Alhaji Musa promised, didn't know what to say. For the first time, she felt truly trapped between two worlds, neither of which seemed to hold the answer she was searching for. Let me know in the comment if you want part 2 of this story. Don't forget to subscribe.